I thought my life was finally perfectly on track and secure, with a promising career, loving friends, and steady plans for marriage. Everything I worked for seemed stable, bright, and beautifully certain. Until the morning my bank called about suspicious activity. I laughed at first, thinking it was routine verification nonsense. But the representative sounded tense, distant, and carefully rehearsed. She listed charges, transfers, withdrawals I never recognized anywhere. My stomach tightened as she mentioned overseas accounts and loans. Loans supposedly signed digitally with my verified credentials attached. I insisted there had to be some ridiculous mistake somewhere. Yet she informed me my accounts were temporarily frozen immediately. I remember staring at my office computer screen blankly, trying to focus on quarterly projections due that afternoon. But my hands trembled, hovering uselessly over the keyboard. Within an hour, human resources asked me into conference room. Their expressions carried pity, suspicion, and uncomfortable distance. They explained financial discrepancies tied directly to my credentials. Company funds were missing, rerouted through encrypted pathways. Pathways that ended disturbingly within my personal banking profile. I felt the floor vanish beneath my carefully balanced world. I denied everything, my voice cracking with disbelief. They placed me on immediate leave pending investigation. By evening, my access badges, passwords, and company phone were deactivated without ceremony or compassionate conversation. I walked to my car under the weight of stares, co-workers whispering behind glass walls and half-closed blinds. I called my fiancé Daniel, desperate for grounding reassurance. He answered slowly, his tone guarded and strangely formal. Before I could explain, he asked about missing money. Apparently someone emailed him detailed evidence against me, screenshots, transaction logs, even messages discussing secret debts. Debts I supposedly hid to sustain an extravagant lifestyle. I felt betrayal creep coldly into our shared future. Daniel said he needed space-time clarity and honesty, his words slicing deeper than any accusation before. I begged him to look at me, not rumors. But he claimed the digital proof looked undeniably authentic. He questioned how well he truly knew me. That question shattered something fundamental inside my chest. After we hung up, I collapsed onto kitchen tiles, sobbing between flashes of anger, humiliation, and dread. My phone buzzed continuously with notifications and alerts. Collections agencies flagged new credit lines opened recently. Each alert felt like another nail sealing reputation coffin. In desperation, I called my older sister Marissa. She had always been dramatic, competitive, and unpredictably moody, but she was still my sister, my childhood companion. She answered sweetly, offering sympathy and concerned disbelief. Her voice carried a softness almost too perfectly timed. She insisted I could stay with her temporarily, claiming family must unite during storms and scandals. I accepted because I had nowhere else left. Our parents lived overseas and unreachable that week. Daniel refused to see me until investigations concluded, so I packed essentials and drove to Marissa's townhouse. Living with her felt strangely like stepping backward, into adolescence where rivalry simmered beneath polite smiles. She watched me closely whenever my phone chimed, asking subtle questions about password security and lawyers. I dismissed my discomfort as paranoia induced by stress. After all, trauma breeds suspicion even among loved ones. Days turned into weeks of interviews and paperwork. Investigators combed through devices searching for hidden trails. I surrendered laptops, tablets, and external hard drives, confident truth would surface if given time. Yet evidence kept stacking ominously against my name. One afternoon I overheard Marissa whispering intensely, her bedroom door slightly open revealing tense posture. She mentioned my accounts, my downfall, and Daniel. Her tone lacked sympathy, replacing it with excitement. I froze outside, listening to fragments of conversation. She said everything was unfolding exactly as planned like a strategy rather than tragic coincidence. My heart pounded loudly, threatening to expose me. When floorboard creaked, she ended call abruptly, stepping into hallway with an unreadable expression. She asked if I needed anything with sugary calmness. That night I couldn't sleep, haunted by suspicion. Memories resurfaced of childhood competitions and comparisons. Marissa always envied praise directed toward my achievements. She mocked my scholarships, promotions, and engagement ring, claiming luck favored me unfairly without justification. I wondered whether envy could truly escalate this far. The next morning I requested access to investigation updates. An officer mentioned digital footprints originating near Marissa's address, specifically during timestamps of fraudulent transaction submissions. My breath caught as puzzle pieces aligned painfully. I asked whether precise device identification was possible. They explained security cameras captured partial driveway footage, showing someone using laptop inside parked familiar sedan. The sedan matched Marissa's recently purchased silver hybrid. Timestamps corresponded exactly with major fraudulent transfers. Additionally, metadata traced backup emails to her network. Networks leave signatures invisible to inexperienced criminals. I felt fury, grief, and disbelief collide violently, yet I requested discretion until evidence became irrefutable. I needed certainty before confronting my own sister. That evening I searched her study while she showered. Inside drawer I found flash drives labeled cryptically. Hands shaking, I inserted one into spare laptop. Folders opened, revealing fabricated contracts and forged signatures. There were edited conversations designed to incriminate me, even photographs manipulated to suggest secret lavish spending. She had meticulously constructed an alternate villainous version, a version convincing enough to deceive banks, employers, lovers. Tears blurred my vision as truth crystallized. My sister orchestrated my professional and personal collapse, motivated by jealousy buried beneath years of smiles. I copied files onto external drive for evidence, then returned everything exactly where originally hidden. The following day, investigators confirmed definitive device matches. IP logs, biometric keyboard patterns, and security footage collectively proved Marissa executed calculated identity theft scheme. They requested permission to confront her formally. I agreed, though my heart felt unbearably heavy. Officers arrived that evening with quiet authority. Marissa's composure shattered when presented with evidence. She denied initially, then blamed stress and resentment, claiming I overshadowed her entire miserable existence. She confessed sending anonymous dossier to Daniel, hoping he would abandon me publicly and permanently. Hearing her admit everything felt surreal and numbing, as though I observed strangers inhabiting our bodies. She was arrested calmly without dramatic resistance. Neighbors watched curiously as patrol car lights flashed. I stood on porch trembling between sorrow and vindication. Family bonds dissolved under weight of betrayal, yet truth finally surfaced, clearing suffocating accusations. Within days my employer reinstated me formally, issuing public statement correcting earlier damaging assumptions. Banks restored accounts and erased fraudulent obligations. Slowly my professional credibility began healing again. Daniel requested meeting after news became public knowledge. He arrived with flowers, regret, and fragile explanations. He claimed fear clouded his judgment and trust. Insisting fabricated evidence seemed overwhelmingly convincing then. I listened quietly, remembering his immediate doubt. How easily he believed digital files over my character. Love should anchor during storms, not drift away. I realized trust once fractured rarely returns whole. He asked for forgiveness, another chance, and reconciliation, but I saw uncertainty lingering behind his eyes. So I declined, gently choosing dignity over familiarity. Walking away from him hurt yet empowered me. I understood loyalty must withstand whispers and suspicion. Otherwise, partnership becomes conditional and dangerously fragile. With restored reputation, I reassessed my ambitions entirely. Returning to previous job felt tainted by memories, so I resigned voluntarily, surprising colleagues again. This time departure symbolized control rather than disgrace. I invested savings into launching consulting firm, focused on cybersecurity ethics and fraud prevention education. My experience transformed into expertise uniquely personal. Clients valued insight forged through lived nightmare. Building company demanded resilience, relentless focus and courage. But adversity had strengthened muscles I never knew. Each workshop, seminar and keynote reclaimed stolen narrative. I spoke openly about identity theft and betrayal, without naming Marissa yet honoring painful lessons. Audiences responded with empathy, curiosity, and admiration. Revenue grew steadily, surpassing my previous salary. Success tasted different now, earned through ashes. Occasionally memories resurfaced, sharp and unwelcome, especially during quiet evenings alone with thoughts. Yet I refused to let bitterness define future. Marissa eventually accepted plea deal and counseling. Our parents returned, devastated by fractured daughters. I maintained distance, sending brief neutral updates. Forgiveness remains complicated, layered and unfinished. Trust cannot be rebuilt upon deliberate, calculated harm. Still, I release hatred to protect my peace. Sometimes I revisit that disastrous turning point, recognizing how swiftly stability can disintegrate unexpectedly. Identity extends beyond documents, passwords, and signatures. It lives within resilience, integrity, and chosen responses. Mine was tested publicly, painfully, and profoundly. Today, when I review company financial statements confidently, I remember frozen accounts and humiliating accusations. When I advise couples about digital transparency practices, I recall engagement ring returned quietly by courier. When I lecture about internal threats within families, I speak from scarred yet strengthened understanding. My story no longer centers on betrayal alone. It highlights reclamation, autonomy, and unwavering self-belief. I lost a sister, a fiancé, and innocence, but I gained clarity, purpose, and formidable independence. And that trade shaped the woman I became. Sometimes people ask whether I regret anything. I regret ignoring subtle warning signs years earlier. I regret trusting silence instead of confronting tension. Yet I do not regret choosing myself finally, because survival required courage beyond comfort, familiarity. If another storm gathers on distant horizon, I know now to anchor within unwavering truth. Documents can be forged and images manipulated, but consistent character reveals itself over time. Mine endured scrutiny, sabotage, and public doubt, and emerged steadier, wiser, and fiercely self-assured. This is my story of theft and reclamation, of love misplaced and loyalty redefined completely. I share it not for sympathy or drama, but as reminder that truth eventually illuminates darkness. Even when shadows wear faces frighteningly familiar, even when evidence screams louder than your voice, hold steady, gather facts, and protect your integrity, because clearing your name begins with believing yourself. I did, and that belief rebuilt everything stronger. Not the same life I once envisioned, but a life undeniably, authentically, and powerfully mine.